Close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow breath in. Let it out gently. Now, picture this. You didn't stumble onto these words by chance. You're here because something deep in you has shifted like a compass needle, finally locking onto true north after spinning for years. I know this because I've seen it before in my own life and in the lives of countless others I've worked with over the past decade. You've been walking a long road, reading books on manifestation, attending workshops on consciousness, trying meditation apps, repeating affirmations until you could say them in your sleep. You've worked hard, sometimes desperately, to get it right. And every so often you did. There were moments you felt like the universe was winking at you. Perfect synchronicities, sudden clarity, flashes of peace. Then, it faded. The old patterns crept back in. Life still threw curveballs. And somewhere deep down, you began to wonder, am I just not spiritual enough? Not focused enough? Not enough? Here's the truth. No one tells you you were never broken and you've never been doing it wrong. Think of it like a long hike up a mountain. You've been climbing for hours, sweating, stumbling, wondering if you took the wrong trail. And then, without fanfare, you round a bend and realize you're already at the summit. The final test isn't about reaching the top by pushing harder. It's about realizing the summit has been under your feet the whole time. The real test? Stopping the endless testing. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I tried every technique in the spiritual playbook, visualization boards plastered on my fridge, binaural beats in my headphones, writing my dreams down 55 times for 5 days because some YouTuber swore it worked. I chased results like a kid chasing fireflies, grabbing a little glow, only to watch it vanish through my fingers. What I didn't know was that the chasing was keeping me from the stillness where real transformation lives. The moment I stopped grasping, stopped trying to fix myself, stopped turning life into a self-improvement project, something shifted. Not in the world outside, but in the way I met that world. And here's where science meets spirituality. In quantum physics, the observer and the observed are part of the same system. You're not separate from the reality you see. You are the field itself, expressing through this point of awareness called you. The gap between me and what I want isn't real. It's a trick of perception. When you see this, you stop trying to fix your life. You start letting your life express who you already are. And here's the beautiful irony. The moment you stop needing the proof rushes in. Opportunities appear without you forcing them. People who align with your true self drift into your orbit. Doors swing open, not because you kicked them down, but because you stopped blocking them with your own resistance. So, before we go further, I invite you to take this in, not as a theory, but as a lived truth. You are already whole. You've already passed the test. From here, the question isn't, how do I get there? It's, how do I live from here? Now that you've tasted this shift, let's explore what it means to live from it. Think about your morning routine. For most people, it's a mad dash, phone alarm blaring, coffee brewing, mind already racing through emails, bills, deadlines. The old version of you might have rushed through the motions, carrying yesterday's worries and tomorrow's fears like an overloaded backpack. But when you're living from your natural state, mornings feel different. You still have responsibilities, you still make your coffee, but you're there for it. You actually notice the sound of the water pouring, the warmth of the mug in your hands, the smell rising like a little love letter from the universe. It's not about becoming some monk who meditates on a mountaintop all day. It's about finding the mountain inside your own kitchen, in the middle of your own Monday morning. Living from your natural state means you stop using the present as a stepping stone to some better future. You're not hustling to get to happiness, you're letting happiness meet you here. Here's a story from my own life. A few years back, I was in the middle of a business deal I thought would make me. I was convinced that once it came through, I'd finally relax. But at the last minute, it collapsed. Old me would have spiraled, blaming myself, replaying every conversation, doubting my worth. But something new happened. I sat down, took a breath, and asked myself, if nothing about this changes, can I still be okay right now? And the answer surprised me. Yes. Not because I didn't care about the deal, but because I realized my peace didn't depend on it. The moment I stopped fighting what was happening, my chest softened, my mind cleared. A week later, an even better opportunity showed up. One I would have missed if I'd been too busy clinging to the old one. That's the power of the natural state. It's not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about meeting them without losing yourself in them. Relationships shift too. When you no longer need someone to fill a hole in you, you can actually see them not as a means to your happiness, but as another wave in the same ocean you are. I remember a friend going through a tough divorce telling me, "You're the only one who didn't try to fix me. You just sat with me." She didn't need advice, she needed presence. And this is where living from the natural state turns you into what I call a field anchor. You become like a tuning fork. Your calm, your openness, your acceptance naturally help others settle into themselves without you saying a word. Here's the twist. This doesn't mean you stop creating, dreaming, or building. In fact, you create more powerfully, but not from tension. When you act from lack, every step feels like dragging a boulder uphill. When you act from wholeness, every step feels like an expression of joy, curiosity, and service. Think about it like gardening. If you plant seeds out of desperation, constantly digging them up to check if they've sprouted, you'll exhaust yourself and probably kill the plant. But when you trust the process, when you water and tend without demanding instant results, the garden grows, and often in ways more beautiful than you imagined. Living from your natural state is like that. You plant actions in the soil of presence. You water them with trust. You let the sun of your attention shine without burning the process with impatience. And here's the reward. Life starts to surprise you again. Synchronicities, those little cosmic winks, become normal. Solutions appear where there used to be roadblocks. People you haven't spoken to in years suddenly call with exactly what you needed. But perhaps the biggest shift is this. You stop asking, how do I make this happen? And you start asking, how do I let this unfold? Let's be honest. Living from your natural state doesn't mean every day is bathed in golden light and birdsong. Life will still knock on your door with challenges. Sometimes gentle taps, sometimes pounding fists. The difference now is how you answer. Before, a sudden setback might have sent you spiraling. An unexpected bill, a tense conversation with your partner, a work project going sideways. You might have clenched up, replaying scenarios in your head, thinking, this shouldn't be happening. Now, you start from a different place. A few winters ago, I was driving home during an ice storm. My car hit a patch of black ice, and in a split second, I was sliding toward the guardrail. The old me would have been gripped by pure panic, heart racing, mind screaming. But because I've been practicing presence, something else happened. My awareness zoomed in. Everything slowed down. I turned the wheel gently, breathed through the fear, and the car steadied. Afterward, I realized it wasn't the technique that saved me. It was the space between the stimulus and my reaction. That space is where the natural state lives, and life will test it again and again. Maybe not with ice storms, but in ways that matter just as much: an argument with your spouse, your child having a meltdown in the grocery store, your boss sending a last-minute email at 8 p.m. In those moments, the invitation is not to suppress your feelings or pretend to be zen. It's to let the feeling move through you without letting it become you. One client of mine, a nurse in a busy ER, told me she used to carry every stressful moment home with her tension in her shoulders, a mind that replayed the worst parts of her shift. Once she started living from her natural state, she didn't stop feeling the intensity, but she stopped holding it. She'd pause in the break room, place a hand over her heart, and say quietly, "This too is part of life's breath." By the time she walked to her car, the day's weight had already begun to dissolve. Here's the key. The natural state isn't about avoiding challenge, it's about becoming unshakable in challenge. Think of a lighthouse in a storm. The wind howls, waves crash, but the light stays steady. That's your role now, not to control the storm, but to keep the light on. And when you live like this, something remarkable happens. People feel safer around you. They sense you won't get pulled into their panic, their anger, their drama. Instead of escalating, situations begin to calm simply because you're there. I've seen this in my own friendships. Years ago, if someone came to me upset, I'd mirror their energy without realizing it, getting worked up right alongside them. Now, I can hold space without adding to the fire. I can listen without rushing to solve them. Sometimes, that's all a person needs to be reminded, without words, that they're bigger than the storm they're in. Here's the paradox. The more you embody presence, the more life will give you opportunities to deepen it. That difficult coworker, they're a mirror reflecting the part of you still hooked by judgment. That financial hiccup, it's an invitation to trust the flow, even when you can't see the next deposit coming. That moment of loneliness, it's a chance to remember that the awareness experiencing loneliness is never alone. And slowly, you stop labeling these moments as bad or good. They just become life, showing up in different costumes. You begin to meet them all with the same steady gaze. This doesn't mean you never take action. The natural state isn't passive, it's deeply responsive. But the action comes from clarity, not from panic, from alignment, not from fear. So here's a practice I use, one that works whether you're in a boardroom, at a traffic light, or in the middle of a family argument. Pause. Feel your feet on the ground. Breathe. Inhale slowly, exhale slower. Remember, you are not the wave, you are the ocean holding it. When you do this often enough, presence becomes your default. You won't always notice it right away, but others will. They'll start asking, "How are you so calm? How do you not get rattled?" And you'll smile, knowing it's not about being calm, it's about being here. Because the truth is, you're not here to avoid life's storms. You're here to become the kind of presence that makes storms less frightening for everyone who finds themselves in your light. You've passed the final test not by becoming something new, but by remembering what you've always been. Now, the real work begins to live this truth every day. Not to fix yourself, but to express yourself fully. Meet each moment as if you chose it. Return to presence when you forget. This is how you become a steady light in a noisy world, by being here and now, the consciousness you've been seeking.